everyone. Thanks for coming to this premiere. Sinem and I, we really wanted to do this live, but I'm on holiday this week and the schedules just didn't work out. So you're watching this recording, but we are live in the chat and able to answer any questions you might have. So these are 3 truths medium writers, myself included, realized way too late in their writing journey. And the reason we're doing this is because neither of us were overnight successes. We've made so many mistakes, and obviously we're very keen to help people avoid those pitfalls if at all possible. So we're going to talk about what those 3 mistakes are, or like what the truths are that people realize too late, how you can spot them, and how you can kind of try to figure out the right way faster, like the shortcuts that I wish I'd known when I started. So the first one, and this, I see people do this all the time, and it's that people think that your blog on Medium is your personal journal. And the truth is, it is not. Your blog on Medium should not be your personal journal. Why do you think this is so prevalent, Sinem?
I think the main reason is because journaling is how a lot of people start writing or keep writing after finishing school, etc. So it's a lot of people confuse, journaling and writing down your own thoughts, experiencing diary-like, with actual online content writing, which is like so different, because as a content writer, which you are, if you're writing on Medium, you can only get views or get readers if you provide some sort of value. And I know that's kind of a debate, because it doesn't mean that you need to give super actionable advice. It doesn't need to be technical. You can share personal stories. There are a lot of people sharing personal stories and doing really well.
Yeah.
I think like Shannon Ashley is the best example always, because it's like so personal and it works so well. So this is not about not sharing personal experiences, but there is that your personal experience also delivers value at some point. So not in a technical way, but even if it's an emotional value, because you feel like somebody is also feeling the same things that you've been feeling, and you've always been thinking that you're alone, and finally you figure out that you're not alone. Yeah. I think that's just something that sounds obvious to us now, but just isn't if you start out, because it's just writing, and you feel like you could write anything, which is not really true. So it's tricky, because you can write about anything, but you need to have that sweet spot where people want to read it. What do you think?
Yeah, I see this coming up in 2 different ways. So first of all, there are people who write, their topics are very diary-esque. What I did today, what my favorite lunches are, like these are actual examples I've seen on Medium. And like you said, you can write about your lunch on Medium, that literally legally nobody's stopping you. Yeah. But most people write on Medium, A, because they love writing, but B, because they want to make money writing. And I think maybe because it's like the easiest thing to start writing about, they go that path. But yeah, the topics, I think, is the first thing, where you very self-centered topics. And the second symptom I see is where the style they write is very diary journal-y, where they'll say like, okay, so this is what I did today, and I was humming along and I thought about this, and this is why I decided to write about it. And I think those people don't realize that there is a reader at the end of your story, and every extra word is you asking that reader to wait just a little bit longer before you get to the meat of your actual story. If you're writing for yourself in a journal, it does not matter. If you're writing for a reader, that style, it has to be, most of the successful writers I know on Medium are much more value-packed, much more to the point, much more direct.
And if you want to know how to make those mistakes or how it looks like, look at articles that I published 1.5 years ago. And it was like, okay, today I was reading this and that book, and that made me think about X, Y, Z. So I'm writing this article. Like it's also super hard to make that transition to write a really engaging introduction. And the most tempting thing is to start an article by writing why you're writing it. It's the most natural thing to do, because you don't. It's hard to write an introduction. Introductions and headlines are super hard to write, and that's why they are so powerful and important. And there is this rule. I don't know who is preaching that most, but to just delete the first paragraph you've written. And this is so powerful.
I saw that exact blog post on the Creator Hub on Medium, and I was looking for the link because it's actually such a good piece of advice that I do that actually so often, or I'll at least look at that first paragraph and be like, oh yeah, it's a diary entry. My readers don't need to see that.
If in doubt, so at the end of every writing process, you are done writing, you're done editing, have one more look at the introduction and ask yourself if your first, 1 to 5 sentences are really worth reading. Yeah. Or if you can just skip them or cut them down into one sentence that, it should just be like a really nice flow into the content. Mm-hmm. Not talking around the topic, which often happens when you're just new. I think it just takes a bit of practice to get into that style.
Yeah. Actually, this is perfect because I wanted to start segueing into sort of how people can A, identify that they're doing this, and B, start to move away from that. And yeah, I think like that idea to just delete the first paragraph. And I found a link. I found the blog, so I'll post that in the video description. I highly recommend you check it out. It's a good read. And a solid piece of advice. So I guess other than deleting the first paragraph, I think this is my tip that I love my mom, but she's got a really short attention span. So when I start to read her something, whether it's a title, an introduction, a blog post subject, and she like loses interest halfway through, then I know that it's probably more of a diary entry, only like interesting and relevant for me, but probably not for my readers. Mm-hmm. So that's my sort of instant trick to see if my writing is a journal or if it's something better. How do you do it?
One thing that I did a lot at the beginning is use the, how's it called? Shift F, the search option on the keyboard, and search for you and search for I. Mm-hmm. If I mention, so if I have a lot of I's in the text and not a lot of U's, I know that I'm talking about myself. For the type of content that I write, I want to be as actionable for my reader as possible because it's just what it's my goal with writing. I want to provide actionable advice. That might not be your goal. If you're writing, it wouldn't make any sense for Shannon to do that because she is just writing different content and her strengths are different. For me, it makes sense because I want to be extremely reader-centered. So I look at how often do I mention you and how often do I talk about myself. I don't do that anymore, but I did that a lot at the beginning.
Yeah, that's a great.
And I think for a lot of different topics that actually makes a lot of sense. Personal development, business, anywhere, even if you're adding your even personal experience, you want to have some sort of advice that the reader can take away from the piece. And if you mention you're going to give more value than if you're always talking about yourself. That's what I believe. Yeah,
no, I 100% agree. I think though it might be worth talking about because a lot of writers or a lot of sort of wannabe is not the right word, aspiring writers on Medium will they might not want to do the type of writing that you and I are best at, which is value sort of action driven. And they might say, well, what if I want to write more like Shannon? I cannot write like Shannon. What she does is incredible and honestly beyond me as a writer. But I have had a look at some of her articles. And I think if you're like her and you have a more personal essay style of writing, I'm looking at, I wonder if I can share my screen because I'm looking at her latest article and where is this? She uses the word I like a ton of times in that first paragraph, but it works because it's her. So you can see back in, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can. I think it should work.
So I think if you're going this style of writing, what works really well for her and for me when I've done this style has been trying to ask, okay, this is about me, but why would a reader care? And although the reader may not have been in this exact situation, what Shannon is really good at here is like finding that emotion that she feels and getting you to feel that emotion. She's sharing really vulnerable details. She's going really in depth with how she felt and giving you a lot of reasons to feel exactly the same way. So this is not a how-to or a tutorial or a guide or anything like that, but it's also not a diary entry. She's offering something for the reader where people are going to see that and still want to read. And I think that access, the ability to access her readers' emotions is really what's made her successful, and how she makes the personal essay style work for her.
And there's one thing I really love. It's if you are writing, especially in those fields like personal essays, etc. But I think that's all actually actionable for any kind of writing. If you can write about things a lot of people feel or think but cannot put into words, you will have be able to build a really deep and emotional connection and provide a lot of value just by, giving them the feeling that they are not alone. It's so powerful if you, especially with those personal essays, if you've been through hard times and you manage to put that into a written form that is easily readable, that just makes sense, that is not like super complicated long sentences, but just really boil it down to the essence of the message, you can get a lot of super fans, because you are probably not alone with those feelings, but nobody is talking about them. And I think that's what Shannon is doing really well there. And I think you can also apply this to a lot of other fields and niches in writing. Just, trying to put into words what a lot of people are thinking, but not openly talking about, or not writing about that much.
Yeah, no, 100%, absolutely. Even though I like to continue with Shannon as the optimal example, but even with other styles of writing, that feeling of being seen, even if it's a deeply personal experience, if you can write in a way to let other people know that you get how they're feeling, even if you're thousands of miles away, that's not a diary entry. That's like, not to get too romantic here, but you're making a soul connection through the internet, which is incredible. So you don't have to do how-to. You don't need to do tutorials. You just need to make sure that your writing isn't about you. It's about that feeling that you have in common with somebody else. It's about that experience, or you're providing value in some tangible way.
And I think what's also super interesting here is, being genuine and humble. I think that's also something that applies a lot to you and me. Now, for example, at the time of this recording, you just recently published an article of how you make 8K per month by working only 15 hours per week, right?
Yes.
Now, this is something, this could be an awful article where you brag about how amazing you are, but it's not. It's like, and that's why people love it, because you are, giving them a foundation and saying, hey, this doesn't happen overnight, but you can do it. Here's how I do it. It's not been like super easy and super obvious, and sharing what these ups and downs are. And I think that's interesting. You will not find like super successful posts on Medium that are all about your, Louis Vuitton handbag and your Lamborghini, but you will find stories about super successful entrepreneurs who just openly share the fuck ups, the behind the scenes. That's what's really interesting. Like, if you're about bragging, etc., you can find a lot of really polished, nice pictures on Instagram. On Medium, being a bit honest and open, I think really helps, and adding that personal touch. And by doing that, basically adding that personal touch without writing a journal entry.
100%. That actually segues perfectly into point number 2. I don't know if you did that on purpose. If so, masterful. But like the number one reason that people like writing, and people don't realize this on Medium until way too late, is when it's relatable. And this kind of touches on what we were talking about with Shannon, but it's when you have an article, and it doesn't matter if you haven't been in that situation, if you haven't experienced that, you can still understand the writer's mindset. You know why they did those things, and you can kind of be like, yeah, I get that, and that writer gets me. And I think I think the most common misconceptions are that people like writing because it's about how to make money. For example, I see that so often. Like people ask me, do people, like your writing because you tell them how to make more money? And it's like, yeah, a little bit, but that's not it. Anybody can write an article about how to make more money. It's people who can do it in a way that makes it feel relatable to others. Those are the articles that people enjoy reading. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, totally. Like, imagine an article on Medium that's like, imagine someone writing a Medium article and saying, oh, I just joined Medium last week and I had a viral article and I made 5K with that one article. I'm so awesome and I'm amazing. And it's because I'm so talented. Like, I don't know if that person would get a lot of hate comments, but certainly not a lot of lovely comments, because it's not really interesting. Like, what should I do with that information? That's nice for you, good for you, but what's in it for me?
Yeah. Oh,
how you failed on the journey. Well, that's when it gets interesting. And actually, Amardeep was someone who did that really well, I think. So Amar was lucky in the beginning. That's what he says. Hence had a viral hit really early on, or that's how it seems like. But the reality is that he has been reading on Medium for months before he wrote his first article. So he was like, in my opinion, not like a super newbie, because he knew how the platform works. He just added up what works and what doesn't. And yeah, maybe he was a little lucky at the beginning to have a viral article really early. Mm-hmm. And he openly shares that. He shares that he first thought that he's just an amazing writer and he's going to do that all the time. And then he found out that it's not that easy and that there was a coincidence and luck involved. And he had to go back to the basics and figure it out again and try to replicate his own success. Mm-hmm. So that's when stories become interesting. You don't want to have someone who shares something that's totally out of touch. I believe that's a really foundational rule, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this isn't so much as addressing the misconception that people believe that readers like writing because it's about a certain topic. But I do see a lot of people think that writing is successful because it's in some kind of magic topic, like earning money, or like I remember my biggest misconception. So I thought I had to write about relationships when I came to Medium, because I don't know if you were on Medium. I think you were, back when Chris Gage, Brianna Weiss, John Gorman, they were dominant on the platform, and they wrote about relationships, romantic and friendships and that kind of thing. I don't write about relationships very well because I've only been in one like my whole life. I don't have a lot to say about them. And I tried to write about them because I thought that's what people enjoyed reading, but they didn't enjoy reading that from me because I can't write very well about relationships. So I think like when you're a writer and you're trying to figure out maybe why you're not getting a lot of reads on your articles, it might be you have to look at why you're writing that story. And if you're writing it because you think your audience wants it, maybe take a step back and try to figure out what you specifically have to offer on that subject. What's going to make an audience, a reader, resonate with you specifically on that story?
Totally agree. I think that's so important, especially with those generic topics like relationships. A lot of self-help is very similar. Everybody could write it. Everybody can write about, financial tips. You can watch a video and write an article about it. Mm-hmm. It's just probably not going to work that well because you're going to miss that connection where that really matters. So if you just, have a few points, I think that's actually, that would be the perfect transaction to the third point now. That would be a purpose. But I think a lot of people talk about relationships, for example, and they come up with a basic listicle. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't seem to work, even though it seems to work for other people. Mm-hmm. What I find one mistake is very often is that content on Medium, in my opinion, needs to dig deep. Mm-hmm. Like it shouldn't be super surface level content. Mm-hmm. How's this website called with these super long listicles? BuzzFeed?
Oh, yeah.
BuzzFeed, where you have 30 items you should buy. And then it's just like a 2-liner. Like that's not really what Medium readers pay for. Mm-hmm. It's more about, have your point. It can be a listicle. Listicles work really well. But there should be some sort of relatability, emotion, value. Something needs to be behind it. It's not just about, having subtitles and short paragraphs after each other. So I think that's perfectly waves into the third point we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, take it away.
Well, the third point is that's something that I have never thought about that way until just recently, but it's that your content basically needs to be worth the subscription that readers pay. I think that's something we often forget, but no, the way the money on Medium flows is people pay a subscription fee to read content. Now, why would you pay to read articles when you can actually read articles for free? Thousands of millions of websites. Why would you do that? Why are people doing that? Like, if there is something that triggers them and that leads them to Medium day in and day out, that's why they stay subscribed. What do you think? What do you think about content being subscription worthy? Do you think it has something to do with length, with emotions? Do you think there is kind of a secret sauce that makes it subscription worthy?
Yeah, so I can only talk about, because like you, this is something I came to very late, honestly, like the last few weeks, really. Up till then, I'd really only been chasing the next hit. I'd only been thinking in terms of single standalone articles that I could make go viral. And I was not thinking in terms of, okay, so I've got a reader to read once. How can I write in a way that's going to make them come back a second time? And Medium is an interesting place for this, because the immediate thought that comes to my mind is, okay, great, let's do series, let's do sequential, chapter-based stuff. And they've made it clear that that's not a direction that they want to go in. I think they had one feature like 2 years ago called series that died a kind of quiet and weird death. So they don't want to go in that direction. So you really have to start thinking outside the box about how to make your content subscription worthy, where readers are going to come to see your stuff today and tomorrow and the next day. And it's not so much about a viral hit so much as making sure that your content is, honestly, I can't go further than saying subscription worthy. And I think, for me, the symptom of this was just like chasing a single viral hit instead of consistent success. Was there anything like, how were you previously thinking about it, and what made you realize you were thinking about it wrong?
Well, let me get back to what you said before about single posts versus getting people to come back. What I did last year, basically, so from January to I think it was June or so, for 6 months in 2020, I replied to every single comment on my posts. I did so because I wanted to read the comments on my posts, which is super exciting if you're just starting out and get a lot of comments. And after a certain point, I realized that it actually helps me to understand why people are reading my articles. And what I realized is that a lot of those comments are from the same people. So I have a few super fans who I know read everything I publish. If they see it, they immediately click on it. I have a few people who tell me I don't have the Medium app, but can you have notifications of certain writers? I think there is some sort of feature where you can get notified.
I know this because my mom used to get notified for every single one of my articles. She's like, too many, honey.
So I have these people who told me, hey, I'm so excited every time you publish. That's something I didn't think about at the beginning. I was just about me writing the article. And then I realized, okay, there are people who are really excited about everything I write. This is not thousands of people. This is now, if I have to guess, I would say that's, 10, 20, 30 people who are like really engaged. But these are super valuable readers because they give you quick feedback, they give you quick comments, they might share it with their friends and family, and they help me to understand at some point also that I have to keep the quality at a certain level, because I don't want to disappoint them. It's, for me, it's easier to or if I think about it, it's less worse to disappoint somebody who's reading something for the first time than disappointing someone who has been trusting me for a while. And I think that has a lot to do for me with subscription worthy, because subscription means they should ideally get back to the platform over and over again. And one thing I would love to add here is that I think there are a lot of people who have been on Medium for years, reading for years, and there is certain types of content that has been performing really well in the past, And that doesn't seem to be performing anymore. There's always new trends coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's totally fair if you think about all these people who have been on Medium for half a decade now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's totally fair, and also something to just keep in mind. There are people who are just discovering personal development listicles, and they love it, and they're at the beginning of their personal growth journey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then there are people who have read hundreds of them and who are just looking for something new and fresh. And I think you are one of the examples who are providing really fresh, unique angles to different topics.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just important to keep in mind, that there are these people who have been reading for years. And if you want to impress them as well, you need to just take the extra mile and provide something even more unique and extraordinary than what they have seen all the time.
Yeah, I think for me, for subscription worthy, it's changed my sort of strategy on Medium two different ways. First of all, I have been guilty in the past of writing articles, ignoring literally the last two pieces of advice we just gave, writing it specifically to try to go viral. And once or twice I've gotten lucky, and it has. But when that happens, often I'm compromising something. I'm writing something that I don't really believe, that I haven't really done my research on, that I'm only writing because I think it's a trending topic or something. And that's not subscription worthy. That's, even if that does well, I'm not going to be able to continue to do that kind of stuff because I don't really believe in it. And I think that I'm trying so hard to move away from that short-term thinking because I don't think it's done me any favors. Sometimes the articles do well, but for by and large, they really, really don't. And every time I write something that I don't really believe in and it doesn't go viral, not only have I compromised my writing integrity, but I might have lost a fan. I might have had someone who has loved my writing and reads that and they're like, oh my God, not another crappy, cranked out listicle from Zuli Rain. Goodbye, unsubscribe. And that, I mean, I don't want that to be, that's the first of my pivots, is moving away from stuff that I don't really 100% stand behind. Because if I do stand behind something and I write it and I believe in it and I've done all my legwork and it doesn't perform well, at least I'm not going to turn fans away because it's not consistent with who I am as a writer in the past. And I think the second thing, and this is something I'm still kind of exploring, is the idea of niches or niches, if you're American English. I think the most recent example that comes to mind is how Medium acquired Pragmatic Programmer, and Pragmatic Programmer has like 20 years worth of backlog. They are everything on programming, and that all lives now on Medium. That's subscription worthy content. And I think I've started thinking about how I can create threads that interweave between my different articles, even though I discuss things that are literally as different as cats, data science, and how to make money by writing online, trying to find something that connects them all and a little wave between my readers. They'll have read article A, and because of that, they'll understand a reference in article B, even if they're about totally different topics. So it's not the traditional niche of internet writing, but it is a lane that I'm trying to build for myself. I don't know. What do you think?
That's interesting because it works pretty easy for me, because I feel like I would say 90% of my content is easy to connect with each other, even if, like, I write about personal development and about business. If it's business, I can still incorporate personal growth advice and link to my articles. I don't know how often you do that. I basically have an Excel sheet with all my published stories where I have a headline and link, and I have so many links. Like, I do backlinking within my articles so heavily. If all the links would be broken, it would be horrible for me, because I link back within my articles really often. I think if I have to guess, I would say it's an average number of at least 3 or 4 links per article, because I'm writing an article about confidence and I mentioned morning routine. I just link back to a morning routine article. For me, it's just a huge lump that plays together.
Yeah. Okay.
I have no data on whether people click those links, if it has any benefit. it's just a habit. It has become a habit for me. I believe it makes sense, because if somebody wants to dig deeper into that specific thing, I offer them the opportunity to do so. I believe that this is how I created a content web that just links to each other. And it's so funny because a lot of those links get back to really old articles, old meaning 1 year old for me now, because that's
life moves fast.
How long I've been running. Yeah. But I believe it makes sense to have that sort of strategy if you want to have it. I mean, for me, Medium is a huge traffic source for my business. I don't write about super random things. I try to keep it strategic. If you want to write about totally different things, I think you can still make use of it. As you said, maybe you're going to make a video on that in a few months once you know more about how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
But I think it makes sense to try and bring those topics together.
I think for a long time I was only thinking about my own success as a writer rather than thinking of how Medium thought of me as a writer helping its long-term platform success. And I think if you're a new writer or a struggling existing long-term writer, we've all been there. I think to figure out if your content is subscription worthy, you need to sit down, look at your article and say, is there a reason somebody would come to Medium, read this, and want to read more from me? Like, what is there like other topics that you can write in that are related? Is there more value that you can provide on that subject? And then I think it's also actually going back to what you were saying originally, there has to be something here on Medium that is more than you would give any other website, any other blog that you're, because if I wanted to read about personal development, I can just Google personal development and I will find a ton of free content. But a Medium subscriber is subscribed to Medium because they know that what they're going to find here by you, Sinem, is that it's going to be better than anything they can, find on Google. So I think having that, what do I offer here on Medium that isn't offered elsewhere on the web, is also a really important question to answer.
Yeah, totally. And one thing I also think a lot of writers are not aware of, that readers most often don't even know that writers on Medium get paid. And if they know that you get paid, they don't know how you get paid. They don't know if most of them don't know that we are independent writers. They think that we are journalists hired by Medium. That's something a lot of people are not aware of, because honestly, there are tens of thousands of writers on Medium, but most of them don't get any views because their articles are not good enough. Of course, Medium doesn't display your articles to their paying members if it doesn't meet a certain quality standard. Now, as a result, if you pay your subscription fee and you just joined a few weeks ago, you're probably not following thousands of writers. You just follow a few. And on your homepage, you have the same people popping up over and over again. So it's natural that you might think these are paid writers who get a fixed fee per article or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think thinking like that is actually puts more pressure on you as a writer, because you automatically want to deliver. But on the other hand, it's the only way to make money on Medium, because if you don't deliver the value or meet the criteria or a certain standard, your articles won't be displayed. It's easy as that.
Yeah, no, I think
I personally think that Medium's algorithm is doing a good job selecting content and deciding what to display and what not to. I don't know what you think about it.
Yeah, I found my own homepage has not been great lately, but I've already complained a lot about that, so I won't spend any more time doing so here. But so I think honestly those are the three biggest misconceptions that I see about Medium, or like things that I especially learned way too late in my Medium journey. I think I've definitely been guilty of treating it like a journal, or not thinking in long-term ways of how to make it subscription worthy. And it's been a real journey to figure out how to bring relatableness to my writing, rather than trying to chase whatever topic I think is most popular at that moment.
I agree. It's similar for me. It's three of many, many more lessons, to be honest, that I And the funny thing is, I thought that I know everything. I thought that I understand everything way before I really understood it. Maybe we are still not understanding it fully.
Probably not.
And a year from now, we're going to have a lot more insights. But I think we have figured out at least certain points so that we can make a living doing what we love. Well, I think these are three of the lessons. Three of many more lessons, to be honest, that I learned in the past months and years on Medium. I believe there's just so much more that you need to learn or that you will learn on your journey if you're taking this seriously.
Yeah. And I am going to say, so Sinem has recently, like literally as you're watching this, I think 2 days ago, launched her sort of redone Medium Writers Academy, and it's closing on Sunday. So that's why we're recording this and we're hosting it live sort of today on Friday. And I'm really excited to be announcing that I'm actually going to be teaching a couple of workshops in it, 3 workshops in May live. I am thrilled and I just can't wait to do them. And so I wanted to share with you all the opportunity to sign up to the cohort of this month's cohort for the lesson. I've seen what Sinem's teaching can do with my own eyes. I mean, her success speaks for itself, but there's so many more examples of people who have taken her lessons and done the work and seen success on Medium.
Well, Zuli, first of all, thank you for being part of it and for doing the workshops. I'm so grateful that you join us. I really believe there's a lot of power in learning from different writers. Your writing is so different from mine, and I am so excited to share your lessons as well, because I believe that there's not just one way of succeeding as a writer. That's what we always preach at Write Your Future as well. Mm-hmm. There are many ways. I'm so happy that you will be sharing your ways as well. Yeah, as you said, so we are open. It's a 6-week program. We will guide you by the hand. So we'll have a student community that's really close, and where you will have community challenges, accountability buddies that will keep you accountable to your goals. Yeah, really excited to welcome. So we already, at the time of the recording, we already have more than 20 students in. So that's
oh my gosh, congratulations!
I had no idea. Cohort.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's yeah, I'm really excited. It's the first time that we're guiding the whole group, taking them by the hand, and yeah, I'm really grateful that you are part of this, and cannot wait to welcome even more people so we can do this together and make some magic happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you've watched this, you'll know how much, hopefully from watching this, you'll understand how much we love teaching this and just addressing some of these misconceptions that are, once you understand them, once you get these lessons, it is possible to make a living writing about what you love on Medium. And yeah, I'm really, really excited to help more people achieve that. So if you've got any questions, we're still here watching this live. So just pop them in the chat and we will answer them. And I will see you all in the next video / hopefully on my workshop that I'm doing in May. So I'll see you all then. Bye, everyone.
Bye.